Good morning and welcome back to another episode of the To The Point podcast. It is Monday, December 28th. Fresh off an NFL weekend, the NBA is back in the swing of things, and obviously the World Juniors finishing up day 3 yesterday. Just a great sports weekend. Obviously Christmas was sprinkled in there. I touched on this briefly yesterday, but a lot of great sports over the weekend. Some cool to see hockey being played again. The NHL settled. They're going to be playing January 13th. That's opening night. Every Canadian team, so there'll be a Canadian division. Just an update on the hockey coverage here on To The Point. The World Juniors, I'm going to be focusing on that for this week. That ends a week Tuesday, so that'll give me a week to the NHL season. Before the NHL season, I'm going to be doing an episode where I break down each division, every team in it, the key players, acquisitions over the offseason, and just a good primer for what's to come during the regular season. Also talk about, opening night, the games there, and just how the season's going to go. It's going to be a lot different. Just an example, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be playing the Montreal Canadiens 10 times and the Winnipeg Jets 10 times. They'll play Ottawa 9 and every other Canadian team 8. So it's a different schedule. That'll be the same. Like Tampa Bay, I believe, plays Nashville, 8 times. So it's a different schedule. It's going to be an interesting year. I'm still kind of trying to adapt my thinking to it. I'm not a huge fan of the new divisional alignment. I'm going to try to really enjoy the Canadian division. Obviously it's going to get a Canadian team to the conference final because the Canadian division will only play itself in the playoffs until it moves over to the States in, June, July. So it's exciting in that sense. But I'm going to be doing a primer on the teams, what you can expect, and just a good up-to-date look on the season. But there was hockey played yesterday. It started off with a good game between Switzerland and Finland. Switzerland fought in there till the end. It was 1-0 going into the third period, but the Finns scored a power play goal. They added a couple. They ended up winning 4-1. They're 2-0 and 2-0 in Canada's division. The next game also featured obviously Team Canada, which is going to be the brunt of the conversation today. And it was a mixed bag for Team Canada yesterday. Obviously a 3-1 victory with an empty net goal by Jack Quinn with 29 seconds remaining. But this really was a test for Canada, and I don't think anybody expected it to be, including me. I saw Slovakia play Switzerland. I watched that whole game, and they got great goaltending. And, Switzerland's a young team this year. They didn't bring any returnees back, so they don't have a lot of experience, a lot of game breakers on the roster, no NHL draft picks. So it just looked like two average teams in the tournament playing, and Slovakia found a goal with 5 minutes left. But to their credit, Robert Petrovic, their head coach, came up with a strategy and he implemented it to a T. They played the trap basically last night where they had, one guy kind of attack the D and they had everybody come back, and their whole game plan was to collapse players to the net. They had players go out, they blocked shots. They only credited them with 26. I think they had 30 plus, in my opinion, that they just didn't count. The shot counting system in this tournament, I don't find TSN's been doing a very good job. But I'll talk about that later. But Slovakia had a clear strategy, and this is something that European teams need to do more. When you're going up against a superior team when it comes to skill, you need to do something besides so Slovakia, if they came in, their game plan is, okay, we're going to go toe-to-toe with Canada. We're going to try to outscore them. You're going to lose badly. They would have lost last night 5-6-1 or more. And I think they saw Germany, who really didn't have a plan. Obviously, they're undermanned. But we've seen in the past these teams that just don't have, the skill level, especially of this Canada team with 20 first-round picks on it. They just decided we're going to be playing this game plan, and hopefully we can catch a break. And in the first period, it looked like Canada was going to be on their way to another easy victory like they got against Germany. Jordan Spence, he was a healthy scratch in the first game, but Braden Schneider, serving a 1-game suspension, Spence came in, 7th defenseman, scored. Obviously, he's from Australia, then moved to Japan, now PEI playing for the Moncton Wildcats. So it's good to see a friend of my sister's pot a goal. I could have did without the big celebration, but that's just my personal preference. That's just how I played. I didn't like to be chauvinistic on the ice, but they opened the game 1-0. And through the rest of the period, after that goal, Slovakia really didn't give up much. They didn't get a lot of opportunities on Devin Levi, who had another solid performance in net, but they just blocked shots. They didn't take no penalties in the first period, which is rare in a double IHF game. And Slovakia just didn't waver the whole game. They played their system. And that's the thing. When you're playing against these teams, it reminds me of the game of Canada versus Latvia in the 2014 Olympics, where Canada won 2-1. And it was a game where Christos Govleskis just played out of his mind. He was an unbelievable goaltender in that game. He never really made it big in the NHL, but he made 50-plus saves, and he kept them in it. And at one point, Latvia actually tied the game at 1, and Canada squeaked it out. But in these games where you're playing these lesser talented teams and you keep them in it, if you take a stupid penalty, a bad turnover here or there, it can cost you. And at times, I really thought that Slovakia was going to get it. They got really good opportunities at the end of the second period. They never really pressed the issue because they kept pushing themselves back, but they played it to a T, and you got to give coaching staff and the players credit for not wavering. And Canada was not crisp last night. I don't think in either game so far they played great. They haven't brought their A game yet. Passes. This after the second period, 8 of 32 passes were completed into the slot, which is just 25%. That's not good enough. You need to complete. That's where you score goals. You're not going to score from the outside. You need to get to those high danger areas and finish. And they had some great finishers on this team, but it just wasn't happening. Slovakia got one second period. Not much happened. Slovakia had a power play. One thing Canada's been doing great so far in the tournament is their penalty kill. They're really aggressive. Dawson Mercer, I can't say enough good things about Dawson Mercer. He came into the tournament looking like he might be the 13th, possibly 14th forward. He's their best penalty killer. I think he's their hardest working player, bar none. And he's invaluable to this team because you can just plug and play with him anywhere. They mentioned at the beginning of the telecast, Ray Ferraro mentioned that Mercer could play a bigger role. And he really just doesn't give up scoring opportunities when he's on the ice. So, like I say, he's invaluable. Key penalty killer. Canada's always been a team that's taking penalties. And when you play the Finlands of the world, the Russians, states, when you cross over into the medal round, you need to be ready to face that. And Mercer is a key cog in that, and I think he'll play a big role moving forward. But up to this point, in the first period, I loved the pairing of Drysdale and Byram. I thought they were electric. Even every Canadian defenseman in the first period, I think, was relatively good. They're jumping into the play. They're really aggressive, but they weren't taking too many risks. They're also getting great board play from their wingers, getting pucks out, winning puck battles. So some good signs. But one thing, they were doing this even not on the power play, but they kept doing this stupid drop pass when they got into the zone. And it's normally something that's done on the power play in the neutral zone, but stop doing the stupid drop pass. It wasn't working. Get pucks to the net. Stop pushing it back. And another thing that Canada needs to do more is use their defensemen. I think multiple times, Cole Perfetti, a number of times in the game, really just had the puck along the boards. He looked at defenseman square and he turned around and didn't get a great scoring opportunity. Give the puck out back to so many talented D. I mentioned Byram and Drysdale, Thomas Harley, who did not have a great game yesterday, but normally he's an offensive defenseman and he's a threat when he's on the ice. Spence, he's clearly offensive. He's that's the key to his game defensively. I wouldn't call him a secure defenseman. So when he's on the ice, use him when you're in the offensive zone. And so that's a key thing in hockey that's not done enough is use your defensemen. These forwards, I don't know why, but it's like passing to the defenseman is like they lose points for it. Just watching hockey growing up and, playing it even in the lower ranks, I always like to use defensemen because I like to tip pucks, and just some players would never. Anyway, it's something that I think they need to do more because they have some really talented defensemen, and I think they can get some offense from their back end. So the second period, Canada went over 2 in the power play, so that was disappointing. Their power play was really robotic. So not clean passes, not crisp. Byram's had a couple of rough games. I mentioned I loved this first period. The rest of the game, him and Drysdale, one thing they need to do is break up that pair, in my opinion. They're both too offensive minded, and neither one of them is great at covering up for their partner's weaknesses. I would keep Byram up the first pair just because he needs to be there. I'd probably put Drysdale. I like Gooley and Barron together. I think that's their shutdown pair. But if you need to break that up in order to help your top pair, I think that's not a bad idea. Braden Schneider was out last night. I think he can also play with Byram possibly on the first pair because he's not really a guy that's going to jump into the play. So Schneider will be back Tuesday. Drysdale can then play with Korzak, or, you can do a couple different things, but it's right now I'd probably make that switch just because I don't like where they're going with that pair. I can see bad things happening against teams with more skill. And there's a difference between giving up an odd man rush to Slovakia and giving one up to the U.S. Because if Trevor Zegras is on the right hash and he starts firing pucks, they're going to beat Devin Levi every now and then. And it's just something that I see that could possibly be a bad thing for them going forward. Third period, again, not a lot of scoring opportunities. After 2 shots were 16-8, and it wasn't again, like, not a lot of opportunities for Canada. They didn't over 3 in the power play for the game for them, but it's about 5 minutes left. Slovakia's just coming off a power play. They got some good opportunities. They're kind of starting to swarm on Levi, but 16-year-old for Slovakia really wasn't thinking, trying to break through the whole Team Canada. And this is at the Canada red line. Dylan Cousins wearing the C last night because of Kirby Dach's absence. Strips under the puck. Excellent defensive play. Head up right away. Perfect tape-to-tape pass to Philip Tomasino. Tomasino goes down a breakaway. Makes no mistake, right over the glove. And Tomasino, who's didn't play in the pre-tournament, has become a key factor for Canada. He had another 2 points last night. He's one of the better finishers. Great shot. He protects the puck really well. He kind of has a Jaromir Jagr in that sense, where when he has the puck, it's really hard to get rid of it because he's so big and he's strong. And he reminds me of Jagr because he's kind of got that big ass too. So he can use his whole body to protect the puck. And he had 100 points last year in the OHL. So, this guy's a proven goal scorer. And I suspect he'll continue to get big minutes if he keeps playing the way he is. So that makes it 2-0. I'm thinking at this point, okay, well, there's check, please. Slovakia played as good a game as they could. They defensively, their one little hiccup, and Canada made them pay for it. But they pull the goalie. With 1:24 left, they score a goal. They get it over, shoot it over Levi's glove, 2-1, power play goal, and it's a great, it's a scary, great moment for Canada though, in my opinion, because it's 1:24. You never know what's going to happen, and they had to prove that they could hold a lead in that sense. And to their credit, they did that. Slovakia turned the puck over. Jack Quinn went in on a breakaway on an empty net, put it away, closed the game. This was a test for Canada, and I think they handled it decently well. The best signs for them is Devin Levi. He's their clear number one goaltender. He only had 18 shots last night, but that's a tough game for a goalie because He wasn't getting much action through the first two periods, and he had to stay fresh, stay alert. He made some key saves in the third period where Canada started getting sloppy in their own zone. Thomas Harley, a player I'm high on, had a rough night last night, turning the puck over, making bad decisions, jumping into the rush. So he had to be sharp. He was, and he made every save that they had to. So you can't ask for more than that. And he has showed no signs to question him at this point in time. So another couple things, Connor McMichael, the McMichael Krebs line is fantastic. They're the best line in Canada right now when it comes to providing offensive opportunity. McMichael had 3-4 scoring opportunities in just the third period last night. He was robbed 5 minutes into the period. Had this great opportunity to go shelf Samuel Alavek, the goaltender of the year in the QMJHL last year for sure, made the save. But McMichael, he had 5 goals in last year's tournament. I think he's just picking up where he left off. He's starting to feel it. He's getting his legs back under him after not playing for this long. He's looking sharp, looking ready, and he's been, I think, him and Cousins have been their two most consistent players so far when it comes to providing offensive opportunity. I love Mercer's all-around game, but McMichael can score at any shift, and that's, he's a game breaker for them. And Crepes is another guy that he gets to the net. He's a hard worker, great on the boards, and I think he complements McMichael very well. And they're looking like a great twosome, and I like the way they're playing there. One thing that worried me is that Canada, they started off their first period and they had a lot of speed. And I mentioned Slovakia was playing the trap, which is tough. But the rest of the game, Canada did not pivot. Slovakia got to play they wanted to play the game the whole way. They played the trap. They didn't differ. Canada didn't make any adjustments to stop them from doing that. And that's what kept it a close game. Start moving the puck up the rush faster. Have D jump into the play more. I just thought they played kind of a stagnant game. They seem to sleep their way through it. They're lucky to come up with the win. Like I said, it's good that they got a test. I didn't love the way they played last night. Another thing for me through 2 games is Quinton Byfield, the second overall pick in this 2020 draft, the LA Kings. He's Casper out there. He's Casper the Ghost. I thought he played great against Russia in the pre-tournament game. He was really physical. He was a factor. You could have told me that he didn't play last night, and I wouldn't have fought you on it because he might have been me on the couch. Like, I don't know what he did last night. He didn't generate anything. Even throw a hit, do something that makes me remember it, and he didn't do that. So he needs to find his game because I think they're going to need him, because without Kirby Dach and you run into some good goaltending, it's going to be tough. They won 3-1 last night, and I think he can be a factor later in the tournament if he can just find his legs a little bit and start producing. At this point last year, Alexis Lafreniere was 18 last year. Now Byfield's also 18. They could both, and you're looking at the same time frame they're playing the tournament. Lafreniere won player of the tournament. Byfield has been a no-show so far. So obviously Lafreniere went first, but Byfield went second. He's not that far off. And I just think he needs to find his game because Canada's going to need it. And just be a factor. At least if you're going to be that 4th line center or 3rd line center, be physical, win some puck battles, and at least have your name heard, because if you don't, people are going to be questioning what the hell you're doing out there. All in all, obviously Canada only had 22 shots last night, so that's a little concerning for me. They need to generate more, and Slovakia made it tough on them last night. But like I said, make more adjustments. Dylan Cousins has been playing great, McMichael, but the other lines, I thought Jakob Peltier was a ghost last night. He didn't really do anything. I love the play of Mercer, but just all in all, they need to play better fundamental hockey. And I think if they can get back to just simple things and kind of adopt the work ethic of Dawson Mercer, they're going to be set later in the tournament, because I just think there are teams that just don't do that. So credit to Slovakia, Samuel Holovic, he played well for them. He did everything they needed them to. Robert Petrovicki, I think Slovakia is not a very talented team, but they're a well-coached team. They play tonight against Germany, so that's tough. I don't know how Germany's getting some players back from COVID quarantine, so I don't know how they're going to be coming out and playing tonight. But I think it's tough. Slovakia is definitely going to be tired. They played a long game last night, and hopefully they got some juice left because it's an important game for them in the standings to not let Germany leapfrog them. But should be interesting tonight with those two squaring off. But to finish off the World Junior talk, last night in the nightcap, we saw probably the biggest upset of the tournament so far, and that was the Czech Republic defeating the Russians 2-0. It was a Parek, the Czech goaltender, 30-save shutout. Askarov let in 2 goals. Wasn't really his fault, but Russia over 4 in the power play. Couldn't put one in the back of the net, and Czechs really played a system that they needed to. They killed off a penalty right at the end of that, right off that penalty kill. They scored 20 seconds later at the end of the second period. They added a goal midway through the third, and they hung on and won the game. And this really makes that group so interesting because as of right now, we have the U.S. who have a win and a loss. We have Russia with a win and a loss. We have the Czech Republic with a win and a loss. And then Sweden's played one game, and they played their second one today against Austria. But, down the stretch, we got Sweden playing the U.S. and Russia during the preliminary round. The Czechs play the United States tomorrow afternoon. Russia plays Sweden on New Year's Eve. So a lot to be decided. This could be a very chaotic division. Obviously, Austria will be on the outside looking in there, but a lot of different possibilities. It could be a good thing or a bad thing for Canada just because if the Czechs somehow find a way to squeak through a win against against the USA, then it could possibly be the United States playing Canada if Canada wins their group, which I think they will, in the quarterfinal. That's not ideal because I still think the US is the best team in that division, but it could go a lot of different ways here. That's what makes this tournament fascinating. And today, 2 games, Sweden, Austria, Germany, Slovakia on day 4. A 3-game slate tomorrow. Obviously, Canada will be playing at 7 o'clock. Every game they play Tuesday against the Swiss, and then they finish off their preliminary round against the Finns on Thursday, New Year's Eve at 7 o'clock. So this tournament's great. I'll be talking about the Canada-Slovakia game, Canada-Switzerland game on Wednesday night. So that'll drop Wednesday night, so the recap of the Tuesday night game and things of that nature. So, be on the lookout for that. But a great start to the tournament. I think the players have really, found a groove here. They're adopting. Obviously, it's a very tough situation for all of them. They didn't expect to be not playing since March, but I think the hockey's been very good. We've seen some good performances. I think Askarov for Russia has been very good. Hamidulin, he's just a player to watch. He plays for the Russians, the defenseman. I'm high on him. He's a New Jersey first rounder. He can. It's a hard name to pronounce, but think Habibulin. It's like Habidulin, and he's a real solid defenseman for Russia. But Russia needs to get more effort from Rodion Amirov and Vasily Podkolzin. Amirov's first round pick this past year, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Podkolzin, 2018 first rounder from Vancouver. They both need to find the back of the net, and getting shut out last night against the Czech Republic should not sit well for Russia. Obviously, they beat the States in their first game, so props there, but they need to find a groove. They should win their Austria game easy, but they play Sweden on New Year's Eve, and that could be a very critical game here down the stretch. So good to see the Russians scramble. I always love that. So hopefully a lot more chaos can come with this division. And obviously Finland seems to be heading on a collision course with Canada. They play the Slovaks tomorrow, and then they'll play Canada on New Year's Eve. So a lot to be decided, like I said, and just some good hockey on the horizon. But I mentioned that we're gonna talk about some NFL because I said we're gonna break down the World Junior game. But yesterday was Week 16 in the NFL, and I have to talk about it. A lot of interesting storylines, a lot of good games yesterday. I'm gonna start off with the Colts and the Steelers, just because it has such an impact on the remainder of the AFC playoff picture. But the game started out, Pittsburgh's at home, and they look like they have the past month. Just no life. 3 and out on their first drive, 3 passes that were really low, 1 drop, and no yards gained. So it just looked like a terrible. You couldn't have a worse start. Colts respond with a 9-play, 70-yard touchdown drive, with a Jonathan Taylor 6-yard touchdown run. And really, what the Colts do really well is they use the run. They use a good mix of run and pass. Philip Rivers, I don't think he's good enough to carry a team to wins anymore. But they got Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. He's was great in college. He's really turning out to be a great running back in the NFL in his rookie season. And he made it 7-0 Colts. And then Pittsburgh, again, next drive, they get a first down, but then they try to rush the ball, which they've tried to do all year, and they just can't. Their O-line just can't figure it out, and their running backs aren't that great. They get stuffed on a 3rd and 1 by Justin Houston, Pro Bowler. He stops Benny Snell behind the line of scrimmage. They get a loss and back on the field. But there's a couple key plays in this game that I would say are game breakers. And I thought this was going to be one of them for Pittsburgh, but it didn't turn out to be. But it definitely had a huge impact later in the game. The next play on the Indy drive, TJ Watt, the probably second or third best defensive player in football, gets a strip sack of Philip Rivers. Mike Hilton jumps on the ball. He runs it back to the Pittsburgh 3. They recover it there. It's TJ Watt's second sack of the half, and he's got 15 for the season. He's a sack and a half lead above Aaron Donald, and I think he'll win Defensive Player of the Year. And if he does win it, him and JJ, his brother, who's won it 3 times, will be the first pair of brothers to ever win it. So that'll be pretty cool to see TJ and JJ both winning that award, and both just all-pro great players. So that leads to a quick drive just from the 3. James Conner runs into 2-yard touchdown, 7-7. But like I said, Colts balanced offense. They run a 12-play, 85-yard drive, 7 rush, 5 pass, and it ends up with another Jonathan Taylor touchdown, 14-7. And Pittsburgh, it's just like a broken record in the first half, 3 and out, only 1-yard gain. When we see Philip Rivers air a 45-yard pass out to Zach Pascal, touchdown. And at this point, it really looks like Indianapolis is going to cruise to a victory. Pittsburgh had no momentum, really didn't have anything going for them. Colts have the ball to start the second half. And this is where I'd say the game shifted a little bit. There's 2 plays in the second half. And Pittsburgh gets a stop. They get a stop. The Colts have to settle for a field goal, so it's 24-7. They're still up big, but you didn't give up a touchdown. Give up a touchdown there, it's really deflating. I don't think, obviously with Ben and the offense playing the way it has the past month, you can't feel great about Pittsburgh coming back and winning the game. However, they get a start. They get a stop. Then the next drive, we start to see Pittsburgh pick it up. They go back to what they were doing. They go back to Chase Claypool, the rookie out of Notre Dame, Canadian. He gets 3 catches on the drive, and they go all the way to the Indy 2. However, Indianapolis makes 4 stops from the 2. Pittsburgh doesn't gain another yard. They make a stop on a 4th and 2 attempt in the end zone. And you're thinking, well, this is just Pittsburgh, right? This will be it. They got their chance to kind of get back in it. Check, please. But no, Indy gets the ball at their own 2, which isn't great because you're backed up. They only get a few yards. They got a punt. Pittsburgh gets great field position. It ends up with Ben throwing a 30-yard touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson, who's been really under fire because he leads the NFL in drops. He made a tough catch, a really good catch, and it also was good to see Ben being able to throw a deep ball. He on target, good throw, 24-14. So Colts 3-0. Pittsburgh's defense, and this is really the key to turning around their second half. They started getting pressure on Phillip Rivers. Every time he was throwing the ball, he had a guy in his face. They ended up with 5 sacks for the game, over 15 quarterback pressures. And when he had to make his key throws in the game, he had a guy in his face at least, or he was going to the ground. So 3-0, Ben just starts airing it out. He starts throwing. The next drive, they only had 5 rushing yards. They didn't care. They were throwing the ball every down, whether people wanted to or not. It ends with a Eric Ebron touchdown, 24-21. This is a new ball game. So Indy's starting to panic, and Phillip Rivers is not known for being a clutch performer. He's been in the league a long time, but he's never gotten, he never got the Chargers to a Super Bowl. I don't trust Phillip Rivers. I wouldn't want him, with 2 minutes left and you had to get a touchdown. He would not be in my top 10 even now, even when he was in his prime to get me a touchdown. He just wouldn't. I'd put like Matthew Stafford above him just because Stafford is kind of a comeback kid. I'd put, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick, Tom Brady, Mahomes, etc. before Phillip Rivers. And held the ball too long the next drive on 3rd down. Karen Hayward just buries him, brings him to the turf hard. Another sack. Like I said, Pittsburgh defense was just on another level. We've seen them earlier in the year play great. They hadn't in a few weeks. They woke up. Bengals on a long drive, throws a 25-yard touchdown pass to Juju Smith-Schuster. This is 3 touchdown passes in the second half for Ben and 3 touchdowns in 10 minutes for the Pittsburgh Steelers. At this point, they're up 28-24. So Indy gets a stop. They get a ball back with 2 minutes. Like I said, this 2-minute situation. Phillip Rivers with 1:19, 4th and 7. No timeouts. Got to get a first down to keep the game going. He gets a key player. Matthew Highsmith gets in his face. He throws a little duck up there. Mike Hilton picks it off. Game over. But a key win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They go to 12-3. They locked up the AFC North. They now put pressure on the Bills to win. The Bills play tonight against New England on Monday Night Football. And as of right now, they're a second in the AFC. And with the win yesterday, they actually clinched that they'll finish it. The lowest they can get is 3rd in the AFC. They could still finish 2nd if Buffalo suffered some losses to New England and Miami. But with the Tennessee loss to Green Bay, they'll be 3rd. And a key win for Pittsburgh and a key defeat for Indianapolis. Just a tough day. Indy drops to 10-5, and they're now on the outside looking in. Because I talked about in the podcast yesterday, the Miami Dolphins' big win. They're also 10-5. We also saw yesterday the New York Jets. The Jets. This team that has no business winning. They should have beat the Raiders. Greg Williams blew it. They beat the Rams last week, and they defeated the depleted Cleveland Browns yesterday. Cleveland, who I've been high on, I still am, but they are without their top 5 wide receivers because of COVID contact tracing. So the NFL has these rules where if a player comes in contact with somebody who has COVID, the whole position group has to sit out because of just being in meetings, being on the field together. So Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Hodges, they all had to sit out this game. Mayfield got sacked 6 times, fumbled 3 times, lost 2 of them. Sam Darnold threw two touchdowns, and the Jets won their 2nd in a row. But this also dropped Cleveland to 10-5. So starting the day, just to put this into perspective, Miami was 7th in the playoff picture. Top 7 make the playoffs. With the Indy was 5th. So with the Indy loss, they dropped to 8th. Miami leapfrogs to 5. The Baltimore Ravens handily beat the New York Giants. They go to 6th. Cleveland is 7th. And Indy is 8th. So going into the last weekend of the season, it's going to be huge. We got Miami at Buffalo. Must win for Miami. Must win. They got to hope that other teams lose, but I'll touch on in a minute why I don't think that'll happen. Miami's got to go to Buffalo. They're used to playing, in a dome in warm weather. That's never easy to win there, especially the Bills this year are a damn good football team. And so that's tough. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I don't think they'll win next week unless the Bills decide to rest players, which they shouldn't because they'll want to lock up second in the AFC. They're not going to get any breaks from a division rival. So we'll move down the list. Baltimore, they're 6th right now at 10-5 as well. They play the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Cincinnati has won 2 in a row. They beat Pittsburgh and they beat Houston yesterday, but Houston just looks absolutely pathetic. So take that with a grain of salt. They have been playing better football. I'm not saying they can't make it competitive, but I'd pencil in a Baltimore win. So I'm going to say they're a playoff team. Check. Cleveland. This is the interesting game. Cleveland's playing Pittsburgh. And maybe that's the saving grace of the Miami Dolphins, that they can get a Pittsburgh win. And even if they lose to the Bills, they would still make the playoffs because they have a tiebreaker above Cleveland when it comes to strength of schedule and things like that. So that's an out for them, but Cleveland's playing Pittsburgh in Cleveland. And this is just such a money game for Baker Mayfield. He should have his receivers back. Nick Chubb didn't have a great game yesterday. It shows you what Baker Mayfield will be made of tomorrow because it's all the pressure will be on him. And can he deliver when the chips are on the table? And it'll be a really interesting game in that sense. So keep your eyes out for that one tomorrow. For next Sunday, Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Then there's Indy. Indy, who's 8th right now. So if the playoffs started today, they'd be out. They play the Jaguars, who are the worst team in the NFL. I just got smoked again yesterday by the Chicago Bears. I don't see them winning. They have no incentive to win, however, but I see Indy winning that game. So right now, I think the most likely scenario is, if Pittsburgh plays the way they did yesterday, they have a good chance of beating Cleveland. They beat them earlier in the year. I'm sure they'd love to screw a division rival as well, just to not have them be in the playoffs, not have to worry about them down the line here. So I think the most likely scenario is either Miami and Cleveland may both lose, and Miami might get in with the 7th spot just because Cleveland could win. Just because Cleveland loses. So week 17 will be crazy, and the NFL, no other sport can provide drama this late in the season like the NFL can. Hockey, it's not close. Basketball, it's not there's no point. And the NFL, this is why they just dominate ratings. They dominate fans for the most part in North America because, the games we saw this weekend and in general this season, this has been a COVID season where there's been no fans. And I'll tell you what, I haven't missed them. Sorry. There's been some damn good football this year. Incredible theater. Just a few games just off the top of my head. The DeAndre Hopkins catch against the Buffalo Bills. Great game. And that's the key point of the game, but it was a hell of a game. Then I'll go to the Dolphins-Raiders game this past Saturday. Crazy. The Dolphins should have lost 3 times, yet they win. How the hell did that happen? The Browns-Ravens game on Monday Night Football. Lamar having to go take a deuce. Then he said he's got cramps, and now he's running out, saving the game. They're winning on a 55-yard field goal in the Cleveland Cold. Just great theater. That's just 3. There's the Rams game against the Bucks was a great game. That was on Monday Night Football. That was a great game. It's just the NFL does it better than any other sport when it comes to drama and just the product they provide on the field. And in the AFC, there's still a lot to be decided, and it should make for great theater again in Week 17. Before I move to the NFC, the Kansas City Chiefs lucked out with a victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta missed a field goal with 39-yard field goal with about 29 seconds left. So typical Atlanta. And the Chiefs improved to 14-1. And with that win, they're guaranteed to finish first in the AFC. And that means they'll have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. which is an advantage. They had it 2 years ago, but they lost to the Patriots at home in the AFC divisional round. So I think it does help them. They're not playing great. And I'm still really questioning. I think the Bills can get them. I think they'll crush them. So I think the Bills can beat them. And I'm not going to tell you my playoff predictions yet because we're not there yet, but stay tuned. But KC is the number 1 seed, and they'll have a bye during Wild Card weekend. So they finish next week, I think, against the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see if they dress Mahomes. Sometimes they don't. But I'd play him at least a half because they'll have a bye week. So I wouldn't go 2 weeks without playing your starters. So I think that he'll play some next week, maybe the full game. He'd be playing the whole game if I was the coach. That brings us to the NFC. Again, a lot of interesting storylines. The NFC East, I'll touch on that first. There's no other way to describe it. It's a clusterfuck of a division. We saw this week, Dwayne Haskins was caught at a strip club without a mask. That was the headline. Dwayne Haskins saw at strip club without a mask. Who gives a shit if he's got a mask on? That's not. You should tell me if the stripper's sitting on his lap and he's got a mask on. That's better. Like that's gonna save him. Like he's not gonna get COVID, but he's breaking protocol. But it's because he doesn't have a mask on. That's what the NFL was trying to. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, anyway. Like he's at a strip club, broke protocol. That's the headline, not because he doesn't have a mask on. Like, okay, Karen, wear your mask. I get it, but like, how's that the story? But Alex Smith, he's got an injured calf, can't play for the Washington football team yesterday. So Haskins, after getting caught at the strip club, got fined $40,000, got the captaincy stripped off his jersey. He stunk it up. His career's done. He was a first-round pick, 15th overall at Ohio State, and he's done in Washington. Like, they may have to use him again in the final week, but he's garbage. He's just terrible. And they lose to Carolina 20-13. If they won the game, they would have clinched the division title, and they lose. So a tough loss just to go through the division. The Giants, I mentioned, lost to the Ravens, so they're 5-10. They're unlikely to win the division, but they still have an outside chance. The Cowboys, I mentioned them a couple of weeks ago, and I said the Cowboys can win the NFC East, and I think they might. And I think they're going to. I had that inkling a few weeks ago. I looked at their schedule, and I said the Cowboys are going to win this division. And they've won 3 in a row. And they've won 2 in a row, pardon me. They're now 5-10. They're now 6-9 behind. They're tied with Washington at 6-9. Washington 6-9. Dallas is 6-9. So Dallas needs to win next week to play against the Giants. And if the Cowboys win and Washington loses, they will go to the playoffs. They'll win the NFC East. If there's another scenario, if the Giants beat the Cowboys and Washington loses to the Eagles, then the Giants will win the NFC East at 6-10 and go to the playoffs. A lot of different scenarios here. The Cowboys will be playing the Giants at 2:00 next week. And the NFL, they always put a Sunday night football game. They never schedule it. They put the best game on it for Sunday night, just the most intrigue when it comes to division. So they put Washington at Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football on NBC. So going into the game, the Giants the football team will know where they stand, because either the Giants winning or the Cowboys winning will be bad for them, and they'll need to win. It's a must win. I don't know if Alex Smith is going to be able to play. I think Ron Rivera's got to pray, because Dwayne Haskins is basically like playing a scarecrow. The guy's trash. So they're without Antonio Gibson yesterday, the lead running back. They were with their top wide receiver yesterday, Terry McLaurin. They still got the best D-line in football. I mean, they allow 20 points. You allow 20 points in the NFL, you should win if you have competent offense. So again, this division is going to be so interesting. Like I said, next weekend, Dallas at the New York Football Giants at 2:00. And then the Sunday Night Football game, the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, rookie, could be the ultimate spoiler, which I'm sure he would love to do. And it could be the Giants or the Cowboys going to the playoffs because of Jalen Hurts' good play. But that's what's at stake in that division. Also yesterday, we saw the Seahawks clinch the NFC West. They beat the Rams in a game that was really ugly for both teams. It was a 20-9 win. Jared Goff threw a couple bad picks. I mean, I said the Rams could win the Super Bowl this year if they had a competent quarterback, and I still believe that. If they had Ryan Tannehill, I think that they're a Super Bowl threat. Jared Goff just makes really poor decisions. He doesn't throw the ball down the field. And, yeah, I mean, Seattle didn't play great yesterday. Rams defense played very well. Russell Wilson did have one touchdown pass to Jacob Hollister, and he ran one in himself, but not a great day for Seattle offensively. They clinched the division. They still have an outside chance at getting the number 1 seed, but the Green Bay Packers also won last night. They've already clinched the NFC North, but they destroyed the Tennessee Titans at home in a snow bowl, the snow game. Aaron Rodgers with 4 touchdown passes, 3 to Devontae Adams, who now is 17 on the season. He's got 44 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. So I think with last night's effort, he probably locked up the MVP trophy. So if with a win next week against the Bears, which I think will be a good game just because the Bears are currently in the final playoff spot in the NFC. With a win, they go to the playoffs. With a loss, they could possibly be out because Arizona is playing the Rams next week. But after the game, we learned that, we saw it in mid-game, but the Rams quarterback, Jared Goff, dislocated his thumb, and they think he broke it. He might need surgery. So he might not play next week. So it's really up in the air right now what the Rams are going to do at quarterback heading into the final week of the season, and they're not guaranteed a playoff spot either. So it could get interesting here for the Rams and for the Bears and these teams. Like I said, the theater never ends with the NFL, and the Saints finish off their season against Carolina. They can get the 2nd seed with a win. So tons of drama heading into Week 17. There's obviously Monday night tonight, Buffalo at New England. Yeah, New England does have a lot to play for, and I think tonight's win for Buffalo would just be more of a showing them that we're here, we're the class of division now. Move over. You're the redheaded stepchild now. So an important game for Buffalo, just confidence-wise, to go into New England and win that game. But the World Juniors cooking. We got NFL this week, just to kind of give you guys an outlook on the schedule. Tuesday night, I'll be doing the next finale recap with Sheamus, episodes 9 and 10. I've really loved the series. I've loved talking with him. We'll also learn what we're going to be talking about next. That's up to Sheamus. He's giving his time to me. I love just spending time with him. And he's going to tell me what we're talking about next. I have no clue. So you're going to learn with me tomorrow night what show or what movie we'll be talking about. So that's tomorrow night. That should drop around 8. Wednesday, I'll be talking about Team Canada's game Tuesday night. So it'll come a little bit later. I'm going to be talking about after work Wednesday night. So expect that to get about 8:00. So you'll hear about it before Thursday night's game between Canada and Finland. Thursday morning, I'm going to be talking with Matt Wright. He's making his return to the podcast. We're going to be talking about the college football playoffs and the semifinals, which are going to take place New Year's Day, so Friday. Alabama, Notre Dame at 5, and Clemson, Ohio State at 9:30. So we're going to talk about those games, talk about Trevor Lawrence probably going to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the draft. We'll talk about some other things around the college football world. The decision to put teams where they are, I'm sure Ryder's got some opinions there. Friday, I'll be doing a podcast breaking down Canada's Canada's game against the Finns, where they stand, the quarterfinal matchups, things of that nature. Saturday, the NFL Week 17 preview show. So I missed this last week for Christmas. I didn't do a preview show for the weekend. That'll be back next week. Not sure who my guest will be yet, but I'm still in the works there. And I'll finish off the week probably Sunday talking about the quarterfinal matchups in the World Juniors. So I should be on every day this week. So stay tuned. A lot more content coming your way. Just let me know what you want to hear me talk about. Leave some comments. You can message me directly if anything you really want to hear. And of course, I appreciate you guys listening, all the support thus far. So I'll be back tomorrow and we'll talk soon.